Hi guys, we've got a fantastic video that just came out from CNBC about the difference between today and 1999. And what blew my mind, and I think what will blow your mind as well, is they somehow spin it. I mean, this takes a lot of talent. I got to give them credit there. They somehow spin it to where the differences are worse, but yet that makes the stock market today better and somehow not in a bubble. Oh, this is true P.T. Barnum stuff right here. So let us get into the action. I'll get my head out of the way. And this, I got to give this gal some credit. He seems to have a little bit of sense. But this guy that they have on it is just unbelievable. So check this out.
Yet of a short squeeze in the markets and some of the high-flying stocks separating from their fundamentals. Check out a few of these 20.
That's an understatement. A few of these stocks separating from their fundamentals. Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it. GameStop going from $2 to $300, and who knows, it's probably back down to 50 today. It's just all over the place. But yeah, I would say that's separated from the fundamentals.
24-hour moves in GameStop. You had Bed Bath & Beyond and National Beverage Corporation. Short squeeze, part of what's happening here, but doesn't explain the entire story. Some of these are story stocks too, and we'll talk more about that. But joining us right now to make some sense of this is Chris Ferrone. He's the head of technical analysis.
Okay, so you kind of got an idea of what's going on there. Now let me fast forward to when this guy he starts talking a little bit about technical analysis, but here it's just just completely goes off the rails. I just cannot. Here, I'll just hit the play button.
Few stocks, or is this something more symptomatic of a problem? And this is where I think we need.
Oh, here we go. Let me go back
there as well. I think the question we have to ask as analysts is this speculative fever isolated to these few stocks, or is this something more symptomatic of a problem? And
so what he's saying is this bubble, this hyper bubble, is it just focused in GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond, or is it the entire market? like how is that even a question right now? Like, how can you ask that question with a straight face? Basically asking the question, is the stock market, the broad stock market, the S&P, in a bubble right now? Like how can you look at any macro indicator and say, no, I think we're good. We're good. Anyway, here we go.
And this is where I think we need to draw a really important distinction from today versus 99, 2000. When you were seeing the mania in late 99, we have to remember it was tech and nothing else. Tech was working at the exclusion of every other sector, of every other group. That's not the case today. There are these isolated pockets.
So, okay, let me actually keep going here.
There's no doubt about that. But this is a broad move. And this is not just a handful of stocks driving the whole advance. I think when you look at this from a bigger picture, we've given people free money and free time. You're going to get stock prices up in that environment. But is this reflective of that 99, 2000 type speculative? I don't think we're quite there just yet.
So this gentleman doesn't think we're in a speculative bubble right now. And he justifies his reasoning by saying, you see, back in the Dotcom era in the late 1990s, there were just a few stocks. It was just tech that was in this ginormous bubble. But now the entire market's in a bubble. It's not just a specific sector. He said it's everything going up. We see a broad-based bubble, and he's not using the word bubble. He's just saying broad-based participation. Okay, so the fact that we have more stocks participating in the bubble somehow makes that better. That's the spin we're dealing with here, or that's the quote unquote logic we're dealing with on CNBC.
Why? Well, I mean, what's the difference?
And fortunately, this gal comes back with some sanity.
Because we start talking about it, and I think about the day traders at that point, which are the same thing as the Robinhood traders now. People who are making fast trades may not know as much about a stock, jump into it because they see the momentum going, they see the flow going there, they like the story behind something and can understand that. That sounds an awful lot like what we saw back in 1999. You're just saying it's not as much of the depth of the market right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the great stats, by the time you got to the March 2000 top, only 30% of stocks were actually working. Today, that number is closer to 90. So
again, by the time you got to the top, only 30% of the stocks were in a bubble. Today, it's 90. So today, we don't have to worry about a bubble. He's saying that we're in a bigger bubble, therefore we don't have to worry about the fact that we're in a bubble. Just unbelievable.
This market has a lot more depth behind it, a lot more breadth behind it. I'm not as concerned about these speculative pockets. Now, I also think when you try to quantify sentiment, and we look at about 7 sentiment indicators on a daily basis, only about 3 of them I would describe as very excessive here. Now, that's moving in the direction of sentiment getting too hot. But I do think what we're setting up here for is a market that's going to challenge the Fed. If the Fed is...
this is where it gets really good. I forgot about this part, guys. Hopefully you've stayed till this part, because this is where he goes from just insane to completely ludicrous mode. Check this out. Oh, this is fantastic.
Really serious on this idea that they're not going to raise rates until the unemployment rate is much lower, or until 2023 or 2024. I have to wonder, is the market going to challenge that view? Is the market going to say, Chairman Powell, you're not going to raise rates until 24? What if the S&P has a 4 handle on it? What if 10-year yields are 175? So it does seem like we're setting up for some asset price inflation where the market is destined to challenge the Fed here.
Okay, so I know you're probably, your jaw is on the ground right now, but let me try to say that again, just for those of you who are thinking to yourselves, there's no way I heard those words just come out of his mouth. What he just said is he believes the stock market is going to go up to have a 4 handle, is the word he used. And that's going to somehow force the Fed to raise rates, as though the Fed is going to come in and see the stock market going to all-time highs and say, oh, you know what, guys? Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. We're going to have to take away that punch bowl. We're going to start raising rates. Not because inflation is high, but we're going to start raising rates because we think the stock market is going too high. And what's complete madness about this situation is the Fed is actually trying to create a stock market bubble. They know the economy is built on asset prices, and more specifically, asset bubbles. They're doing everything in their power to create the wealth effect, to create asset bubbles, to even imply that the Fed would come out and try to, or be forced to raise interest rates because asset prices are getting too high, is just, it's not even nonsense. It's completely ridiculous. It's tough to even argue it because it's so crazy. Like, I don't even know where to go with this. Like, how can you assert that the Fed is going to raise interest rates because the stock market has gone to a certain level. Just and by the way, haven't we got to that level? Like weren't we at that level like 2 years ago? Like weren't we at that level when the S&P doubled from the lows, going back to 2000, call it 2008, 2009? Weren't we at that level with bonds when we're at zero interest rates for, call it, the majority of 10, 12 years, meaning that bond prices at 5,000 year highs? You don't think we were there at that point in time, huh? I mean, I just don't see how you can have such a massive disconnect from reality. But there you go. That's CNBC. And let me be clear, I got to give the gal credit, because at least she was pushing back on this guy's complete insanity and just P.T. Barnum spin.